Hello, my name is Matthais Hammer from Biosphere Expeditions and welcome to Outer Edges How-To section. I'm going to talk you through 4x4 driving today. We're in the Otway Ranges on this really lovely wet and muddy day. It's perfect. We're going to be using the Land Rovers that we use on our conservation expeditions all around the world in the field here, but first I'm going to tell you a bit more about the theory behind 4x4. Okay, so what does 4x4 mean? 4x4 means that there's drives to all four wheels. So you have a car here with the two axles and the engine at the front, and the engine goes through what's called differentials. I'll talk about them in a second. In the middle, at the front axle and at the back axle, and that's how the power is transferred. 4x4 means that there's power to all four wheels. Okay, most people but then think, well, that means I can get through anything, and that's a fallacy basically, because what happens is you have the engine in the middle producing the drive, and it goes through the differentials. Well, what does differential mean? It means that the wheels can turn at differential speeds, and you need that differential speed so that when you go around the corner, your outside wheel has to turn faster than your inside wheel. If you didn't have a differential, eventually the axle would break because one wheel has to turn faster than the other, just by the laws of physics. So what does that mean for off-road driving? Well, it means that if the differentials do what they're doing, the laws of physics say that power will always take the path of least resistance. So what happens if you get, say you get this wheel into the mud and it's spinning, the power is produced by the engine, it goes to the differential. The differential thinks, oh, where's it easiest to turn the wheel? And all the power will go to that wheel that's stuck in the mud, and that happens at each differential. So even with the best 4x4 in the world, if your differentials are open, then that would mean that one wheel's in the mud and you wouldn't move. What we have the ability in 4x4s to lock the differentials, and that means actually telling the wheels that they have to turn at the same speed. So what happens if a differential, for example, at the front is locked, this wheel goes in the mud, not all the power and the drive from the engine go to this wheel and get wasted, but the differential is locked. That forces 50% of the drive to one wheel, 50% to the other wheel. The 50% on this side will be wasted because the wheel will be spinning in the mud, but the 50% here will actually pull your car out. That's why we lock the differentials on 4x4s. Now, on the Land Rover Discovery that we're going to be using today, this is actually done by a computer automatically. You don't even notice it, but the computer senses that one of the wheels is spinning, locks the differential on that axle, and then the drive goes 50% either way, and hopefully, unless you've got a cross axle, it'll be pulling you out. So that's a very important thing to remember, that the differentials are there to give you off-road capability. So in the Land Rover Discovery that we have here, we have three differentials, one in the middle, one at the back axle, and one at the front axle. And as we're driving along, the computer will just sense which needs to be locked, and lock it and unlock it, lock it and unlock it, just as it needs to be. In the older model Defenders, you actually do that manually. Okay, well that's as far as differentials are concerned. We'll come to some other bits of the car. We'll go around the car in a minute. I'll show you the controls. So what I'm going to talk to you now is the terrain response system. That is the system that the Land Rover has, and what they say is like having an off-road driving instructor sitting next to you, and I'll tell you why. Here we have the terrain response system. So right on the left is on-road mode. Then you've got one up, you go grass, gravel, snow. Another one up, you go mud ruts. Another one up, you go sand. And then the last one is the rock crawl. So if you go back to on-road mode, and then the other controls you have in the middle is hill descent control. You just press that on, and the car will not go more than 6 kilometers an hour, and the ABS system will break you down, and break you down in such a way that the car doesn't slip. So you can select that on and off for hill descents that you want to be in control of. And then here you can select between high and low. You always have to be in neutral to switch between. Now we're in low gear. and that gives you, the gears are much closer together, it gives you more power. This is the kind of off-road setting that you need to go off-road, and then you just push that lever forward and you go into high mode, which is normal road driving, hence the icon. And then finally we've got the third setting here, which is basically the level of the car. At the moment we're in off-road driving mode, which means the hydraulic suspension is jacked up, gives you another 19 centimeters. You can push it down, you can see it's now in neutral mode, and also you have a mode where you can actually bring it down and lower it if you want to get into a car park, an overhead car park or something like that. And that's all the controls that you have. Okay, so now we're in one of the most challenging environments, which is mud, and we're on pretty much road tires. So I'm in hill descent control, but the car's basically doing what it wants and not what I want, and I'm trying to find areas of traction without damaging the car. But as you can see, the car, I've got the steering wheel all in and it's not coming out of the rut because it's basically just like ice, and now it's come out of the rut. You just gotta work with the car and trust that the hill descent control is much better at braking than you are, which it is. So I always have the tendency just to stay on, want to stay on the brake, but that just means the car will slide, and it slides enough as it is. But we've got another descent coming up here. It's not as muddy, so this should be okay. But still, you just brake down. If you put the hill descent control in, it'll go very slowly and it'll brake for you at this kind of speed. I mean, here it's safe. As you can see, there's not that much mud on the road, but that's what we used just earlier, where it was really muddy. So because here it's okay, not so muddy, I'm going to take it out, but I'm still going to be very careful controlling my speed. And here what I will do is I will flip it over and I will manually select first gear in low range. So you can see on here it says first gear, and if I take my foot off the accelerator now, this is as fast as it'll go, just through engine braking. If I want to go a bit faster, I can just accelerate a bit, but if I want to go slow, I just come off the accelerator, the engine braking will stop it. Or I can do that in second gear, just go one higher, and then obviously it'll go down the hill at a higher speed with the engine, but with the engine still braking. This is low gear, or I can go third. And now I'm not even going 20 kilometers an hour, so it's nice and controlled. And I'm in charge of the car, and it goes where I would like it to go rather than where the mud would like it to go.